Why do you want to start with Spanish when you're going to international? How many people here are already working international? Like already have, well, I don't need to make much of a case, but Spanish is the lowest hanging fruit, right? It's the language that is closest to English that's the biggest opportunity, right? It's the third biggest language in the world after Chinese and English, and it's obviously translating Chinese is a little bit harder than translating to Spanish. You've also got 17% of US residents as of the 2010 census. That's probably closer to 20% now, and it's going to be even higher once they do the next census in 2020. So you've got a huge market here. What's funny about this is people always make the argument with me, because we do a lot of stuff that's related to search, is they're like, but everybody, all these people search in English anyways. I'm like, well, number one, no they don't. And number two, usually they do that because your English website sucks. I mean, your Spanish website sucks, right? So they have to go to English. You're not really giving them a choice. So if you're going after the US, you are probably going after people who are of Mexican descent. It's a huge, huge percentage, and all of these represent like millions of people who speak Spanish, right? I like this infographic. I think it's cute. If the US Spanish-speaking Hispanic market was its own country, it would be the 13th biggest economy in the world. And it would be the second biggest Spanish-speaking. And so one of the other arguments that people have made against localizing for Spanish is that Latin America is behind on being connected to the internet, and also that people don't trust the internet enough to actually make purchases. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is changing. Right? E-commerce is blowing up. And we're going to talk a little bit about companies that have done that, but I don't know if you know this. Amazon opened their Spain site last year, and they just opened Mexico this year. And they're going to do really well. So I recently read Pam's book on global content marketing, and what stuck with me was the framework that she talked about, which was the 4 Ps. This isn't necessarily totally unique to international, but I like the framework, right? You want to plan, produce, promote, and perfect. So if you're doing Spanish, the first thing, basically, if you're trying to build a business case for how to do this in your organization, the first thing you want to see is, are you getting inquiries from Spanish-speaking countries? Are people interested in your product that you know of that are searching you out even if it's in English? And there's a lot of different ways you can analyze this or make a case for it. Moz, the company that you've got around your neck, they only do marketing in English, and I think this is a damn shame. I think that they have a real international opportunity. But if you look at their traffic on SimilarWeb, has anybody else used SimilarWeb? You can look up traffic data for any website that exists. Their premium costs like $200 a month. It's totally worth it. I am not getting an affiliate discount for this, but I should totally get in a link, right? It's really neat. So okay, so their international traffic, you can see most of it's from the US and the rest of it from English-speaking countries. But then once you start going to other languages, Germany is much higher than any other country. So you'd say, okay, well then Germany has to be the first one. Of course, in the aggregate, it's going to be Spanish anyways, right? But let's just assume that Latin America doesn't exist for this example. Well, if you get into the numbers, you can see that in Germany, most people are bilingual, and English is that language. So it wouldn't be nearly as important for you to translate into German as it would be for Spain, where 73% of people don't speak English. And this trend is true in Latin America as well. Less people speak English. And the ones who do still feel more comfortable receiving content in Spanish. BuzzFeed actually works with Duolingo. I don't know how many of you actually use that app for your own language learning, but basically what they're doing, it's really, really smart, is they're taking the aggregate of all the people learning a language, and they're using you to translate their content. And they're using it for BuzzFeed. And then they have human editors that turn that into something else. It's pretty crazy. Obviously, if you have BuzzFeed's budget, that makes sense. On the other hand, the Huffington Post, which has a huge international opportunity, really is kind of dropping the ball, right? Like they don't emphasize they've got a lot of languages, but they're not particularly good, and they're not getting any traffic from them. Am I sounding okay? All right, cool. So is there a market for what you're selling? So I always look at it beforehand. So you want to go and check your brands and your competitors. You see what the trends are in different countries. You look at the main terms that people are using for search and see how those are trending, so that you can see that there's an opportunity there. I'm going to use just a small case study on Target and Best Buy and how they've approached Spanish speakers and Hispanics. Best Buy built a Spanish language website. Well, okay, so first you've got their global traffic. Target doesn't get a lot of global traffic. There aren't Targets in other countries. Best Buy gets some global traffic, and the reason for that is because when they built a Spanish language website like 4 or 5 years ago, they got so many inquiries from Latin America about buying products that they went, maybe we should build a store in Mexico City and in Buenos Aires. And now there's like 10 of them in Mexico City, and people are going nuts. It's the best thing since sliced bread. They're like, oh my God, I can get a computer for X amount. So even though the market is shrinking for these big brand, big box stores in the States, they found a new opportunity. Target has not. Target has not gone international at all. What they have done recently is they're great at YouTube, right? They've got some really cool videos. They're starting to create spots that are going towards Hispanics, but they're bilingual, right? It's like mixing Spanish and English. And they're effective, but, well, I mean, I would argue that they'd be more effective if they went after a Spanish full bore, right? And they'd also have opportunity in search and in social that they aren't taking advantage of now. So I just put this number up there because I like it and because it proves my case, right? You've got a lot of people online who are starting to go, oh, crap. If it's cheaper and easier for me to buy something online than for me to drive in traffic to go to a store and buy it, then maybe I should do that. And maybe there are people online who are selling things who are trustworthy enough for me to buy from them, which is really the key. It's always been a trust thing. Now, what's interesting about that, too, is as an international company, at least in Mexico and in a lot of Latin American countries, as a foreign company, your trust metrics are going to be higher than local companies, right? These are going to say, if these guys are doing this in the United States and Denmark and all these other places, then they must be good at what they do, and they must actually deliver on what they say they're going to do.